NFTs, what is the future of them? Are they really just speculation, like the line goes up documentary says, or is there a real value proposition here? We are going to dig right into NFTs. I'm going to talk about what I see as the future of NFTs and how they will function, which ones might be actually valuable and which ones maybe aren't that. Maybe we're kind of going to go the way of the dinosaur. We're going to talk all about that on today's Frugal BC. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I've already made one reaction video to The Line Goes Up, and I made it watching the first half where they just started to get into the actual NFT part, because I thought there were so many things about crypto that were just misleading. One of the ones, for an example, was the idea that Bitcoin was like this huge environmental scourge, when it's like pretty minor compared to just about every other industry you can look at. They keep comparing it to the usage of Sweden. Sweden is a very small and mostly rural country, so that comparison is just kind of silly. You have to compare things across industries. Whenever someone says something like that, you always have to question compared to what. Anyway, we didn't really get into the NFT part of it too much. We kind of did a little bit toward the end, but actually, instead of reacting to the next part, I kind of wanted to just talk about how I see NFTs today and where I think they're going. And by the way, if you want to subscribe to the channel, we'd really like that. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. It's growing every day, so it's good to see. Thanks so much for everyone who's subscribed so far. And if you hit that like button, you know, it appeases the YouTube gods and makes them happy. So I'd really appreciate that as well. Well, let's just get into NFTs, because these things are really growing. In the fourth quarter of 2021, there was $11.7 billion in value, total value of NFTs. This is according to Fool.com. This is a report that they put out. The average price rose from 150 per NFT to 4,000. That's a crazy jump. I just want to give you guys an idea of how big this is. And here's some more key findings from the report. The trade volume of NFTs in 2021 was $24.9 billion, and that was up from only 95 million in 2020. So 2021 was a huge spike for NFTs. Now, remember I said it was around 11 billion something was just the fourth quarter. So you can see how much it's growing. That was almost half of it, not quite half, happened in the fourth quarter. It's really huge. And unique active wallets, as they say, a proxy for users, not exactly, because sometimes people have multiple wallets. They start a wallet and don't use it, yada, yada. But that reached 2.7 million in 2021. And 49% of those users were connected to NFT games, which is interesting. OpenSea is the largest NFT marketplace in terms of sales value, but Axie Infinity has the most users. A record-breaking 2.4 million NFTs worth $4.8 billion were exchanged on OpenSea in January. That is wild. And then the 5 most expensive NFTs were sold in 2021. The most expensive, the Merge by Pack, sold for $91.8 million. And make it among the most expensive pieces of art auctioned. That's something else, huh? So we know this is a big industry. It's a big growing industry, but is it a bubble? Is this a Beanie Baby situation, or tulips if you're a fan of history? The way I see it, I think the way to think about this is I see that there's 3 different types. So I'm going to go through those types because I think some have more future value than others. So let's start with the first kind. The first kind, you know, I consider these to be the silly meme territory. So they're usually based on art that sometimes you see actual legitimate art, and sometimes you see like kind of like silly drawings that aren't even really that good. In fact, a lot of them, they're more meme based than they are actual art. Like, so people, like, I love the stuff that he does. To me, I consider that art. And it's a specific kind of art. He did these things, he does these graphic designs pretty much every day. And they're pretty cool. I have a lot of respect for people. And then there's stuff that's, you know, there's like the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And you got your CryptoPunks, and some of these, like, they just seem like, I think you're paying for a status, really. Now, these are the ones that get a lot of attention because of the price and some of the silliness involved. Like this is the one where people see, okay, so this little pixel drawing you paid how many millions for, or how many hundreds of thousands? Like, it just seems crazy.
All supervised.
Oh, well.
And I get it. Like, I kind of agree with that, actually. I just don't think I have a hard time seeing the actual value proposition because you don't really get anything owning this. Just like with Beanie Babies, like they sort of existed just to be collectible. And I think that's why they didn't last. I mean, there's still Beanie Babies around, but like people got really into it for a while. And then when they realized there's really not much to do with these things, they just sit around. I think they just kind of got bored of them. Maybe someone familiar with Beanie Babies knows more than I do and will dispute that. I don't know. I just remember in the 90s when it was a big thing and everyone wanted Beanie Babies and everyone was talking about prices and how much they were worth. And today you just don't see like Beanie Baby mania anymore. So that's one category, the one that most people focus on. But then there's I kind of put this in a category of its own, although it could tie in with the third category that I'm going to explain later, but that's games. So now game NFTs seem much more promising to me. And the reason for that is this basically gives you digital ownership of something in the game that you're buying. Now, right now, if I go buy a skin in Fortnite, do I own that? Maybe, but if the company overnight decides, you know what, that doesn't exist anymore, then I don't own it anymore. I can't sell it. I can't get rid of it. I can't transfer it to another player. It's just, I pay this money for something that may or may not exist in the future. And if you think like, oh, companies don't do that, well, I've lost back in, I believe it was 2015, 2016. And you can look this up. iTunes did this to a bunch of people. I had my entire music collection wiped out on iTunes because they decided to replace it with a cloud-based platform. So with that, I didn't opt into this. I was not given any warning about this. It was just like, oh yeah, one day I noticed like I had a screensaver that would bring up all my album art. And suddenly it said no album art. And I thought it was just a screensaver glitch, but it turned out to be they actually just wiped out my entire library. Now you might think, well, big deal, they gave it to you in the cloud, right? The problem is I was a really big fan of Japanese music, and I was unable to, I would buy music from these other platforms that are based in Japan and import them into iTunes and then get rid of the original file. Because, if you got a computer, you're always trying to like save some file space. So I lost like a lot of music that I bought. And that pretty much ensured that I would never, ever, ever buy another album on iTunes or anything on iTunes ever again. In fact, I usually delete iTunes on my computer. That's how ticked I was. So if you think that can happen, like this is why this ownership is important, because once you have that ownership, it's locked into the blockchain and you're going to have it forever. Now, some people might say, well, there could be hacks or this and that. And of course, that's true of anything. But overall, this is like a better ownership structure. Now, and the reason I think that games have a better value proposition long-term is because you usually actually get some functionality because of it. So it's not just like, oh, I own this NFT and cool, it looks cool, and I can say I own it. Like it actually gives me usually some function in the game. It might be a play to earn element. That's pretty common now. For example, I own NFTs in Townstar and they let me earn Town Coin every day. So I think this is one of the areas where we're going to see NFTs play in more. Now, I will say that NFTs are usually connected to a play to earn element, and I don't think any company has quite gotten it right. I think what will probably happen is you'll see an economy around this, but it'll be kind of almost an afterthought. This is when I think NFT adoption in games will be truly widespread, because I think a lot of people are really turned off. You see it in the gaming forum. I see it in the Reddit gaming forums all the time. People are really anti-NFT. And I think because in most play to earn games that I'm seeing now, the play to earn element outfunctions or outshines the actual gameplay. So like even in Townstar, and I think Townstar is actually a really fun game and a cool game, and I think they did a good job on it. I've been asking myself, would I play this if there was no play to earn element? And I probably would, but I wouldn't be nearly as devoted to it as I have been. I mean, I play every day so I can earn the coin every day, but I don't know if I enjoy it enough that I'd be really excited to plunk this on. And they have one called, I believe it's Unborn Legends. It's like a Hearthstone style game. So I like the idea of having that game, but I actually own the cards. Same with Splinterland. Like I like that if I buy the cards. I actually own them, and if at some point I want to sell them, I can sell them on the market. I guess what I'm trying to say with gaming NFTs is that I think it has a good future, but I think right now the emphasis is a little too much on the play to earn and the NFT function, and it's almost more like an investment and less just like kind of giving you this added element of ownership. And so I put games in their own category just because they're so widespread, and it seems like the perfect application for an NFT. I don't think that's been implemented perfectly. I think we're a ways away from that, but I think it is a perfect place for NFTs when the right balance can be struck. And then the third category that I would say is what I call like general ownership. So these are everything from like, a great example that I like to use is like Lofty, which is, I say digital real estate, but it's digital ownership in actual real estate, in real estate. So I own these Lofty tokens, and I get rent payments it's actual people living on property paying rent to a company, and I get my token entitles me to a share of that rent. I think that's a really great way to use this. It's functional. It's not really speculative. I can sell these coins, and they do increase in value over time as the property increases, but it's not like, it's not the same as selling like a digital picture that has no real value. This has value. It's tokenized ownership of a property that entitles you to rent payments from that property. Music is a great example too. I think like gaming, it's going to have to be subservient to the thing and not be the thing. So it'll be like, oh, cool, I own this thing, and now I have the NFT that says I own it forever. As just like I said for my iTunes issue, like this would have prevented that because I would have the tokenized ownership that says I own this. You can't just take this away randomly. Tickets to like games and events, I think that's a great use, and we're starting to see that where you actually have NFT ownership of this ticket. It becomes a collectible, which I think is cool. And a lot of times they'll tie some benefits. So maybe you get access to a separate website that only members get to. And speaking of that, I think the other one I've heard of, and I don't think this is super widespread right now, but the idea of community membership. So actually having a token that entitles you to certain things. I'll tell a little story. I signed up for like a young leaders, not really that young, but like a young leaders group in the area. And basically when I signed up, I got like 3 emails telling me how to pay the donation that entitles me to be in this thing. And then it was just silence. And I know they've had events, and I didn't even get notification of those events, which is really frustrating. Now, if I had an NFT, it would be built into the contract that when they have an event or some other thing related to membership, it would go to everybody who owns a token. So this is a great reason why I think that's one of the good general ownership functions. And so I could have made each one of those probably their own category too, but I think those all kind of fall into one general category. I think games is worthwhile to be separate. So bottom line is, do I think things like Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks, are they going to be around forever and be worth billions and billions of dollars? I really don't know, but I wouldn't bet on it. I'm not going to bet on it personally. I've liked when I buy assets that they have some kind of underlying value. I think Bitcoin has underlying value because it's essentially maybe like digital real estate is a good way to put it, or it's like a reserve currency. It's because of its limited supply that's constantly being halved every 4 years. I think it has good value. Ethereum has value because it's the internet of transactions. It's a transactional coin, and it has an underlying value because people are actually using this thing and paying fees to use it. And so if you own it, especially once we transition to ETH2, you'll actually get a cut of that. Same with Algorand and a lot of the blockchains I talk about on here, especially Algorand. On the other hand, I think NFTs will fall into that. Like I said, I think we're really early in crypto and in NFTs. So I don't think we've fully realized its potential yet. And people have to keep that in mind, which also means maybe you should be a cautious investor. You have to decide that on your own. I'm not going to tell you what to do. All of my crypto stuff is still a pretty small part of my portfolio. It's growing as I grow more comfortable and more bullish on the space, but I still have my reservations. And frankly, I'm going to keep it a small part of my portfolio for a while. But I have to say, like stuff like Lofty gives me a lot of hope because it works really well. And we'll see. We're coming up on a year. I'll do my year review on Lofty. Guys, what do you think? I always forget to ask earlier in the video. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think is the future NFTs? What do you think is, which parts of NFTs do you think is really good? Which part do you think is maybe kind of silly hype? And tell me all your thoughts on NFTs. As always, I'm Frugal BC. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the future.